Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. I'm honored to be here again to celebrate the flag raising today. When I started thinking about what I wanted to highlight this year, I thought about how I stood here last year in this same spot and gave a speech about the history of pride, about the rootedness in resilience and in pride and in resistance. At the time, the Supreme Court's ruling banning abortion had just been leaked, and there were about 300 bills across the country that were introduced attacking the LGBTQ community. It feels bleak to start on that note, but we saw almost 500 bills introduced this year, and so this fight is not over. We know that for sure. This is specifically attacking the trans community and particularly trans youth. From restricting healthcare access to outing kids to their families, banning student athletes who are playing on teams that match their gender identity. I know the past few years have been particularly demoralizing. We're seeing a drastic rise in hate against marginalized communities across the country, and it's important to note that here in Washington and even in Seattle, we are not fully immune to this. Just the other week, I was working with some neighbors just a few blocks away from where I live who were reporting homophobic crimes, a series of people who were beaten in my neighborhood who were assumed to be gay. And they were taken to the hospital, and we are still investigating what happened there so that we make sure that the people who did it are held to account. And I will say, this is really personal to me. I don't talk about this much, but my sister and her wife left Florida about 15 years ago because they were afraid that they would not both be granted parental rights for their daughter when only one of them carried her. So this is real, and it's still happening, and we have to make sure that we are standing firm against this kind of hate and make sure that we are protecting the legal rights of people to their children and to their families. My office and I meet regularly with young people in particular in the South End who are already exhausted by this world. We know that our young people are experiencing increased mental health issues and anxiety, and I know many of us are also feeling this. But then I remind myself, and my community reminds me, that hope is a discipline. Hope isn't an emotion. As Mariam Kaba reminds us, hope is hard work, and we have to practice it every day. So for me, this means knowing our values. It means acting in accordance with our values and fighting like hell for the liberation of our neighbors, the justice that Marsha P. Johnson and Sylvia Rivera and Ms. Major all held, and many others who fought before us. This means acknowledging that queer and trans liberation is housing justice. Queer and trans liberation is economic justice. And queer and trans liberation is healthcare justice. It's strong protection for workers, funding for culturally responsive youth mental health access, access to shelter and housing without discrimination, and it's a loud and vehement opposition to any attempt to further stigmatize our vulnerable populations for simply existing. So today I'm proud to be here in partnership with the LGBTQ Commission, with Mayor Harrell, with the City Council, in proclaiming this month, June 2023, Pride Month. And now I want to invite to the podium Lillian Williamson, a member of our Get Engaged LGBTQ Commissioner, who will read the proclamation and present remarks as well. Thank you very much for being here, everyone.